Lost media is something that has always fascinated me, and the hunt for it can sometimes have some major twists and turns, and that's what this video is. Today I'm going to be talking about a few pieces of lost media that led to mind-blowing discoveries about the media that was being studied. Some of these are going to be formerly lost pieces of media that had bonus discoveries once they were found. Some of them will be lost media that's still lost, but what we have discovered is crazy, and some of it is something else entirely. First, I'm going to talk about the lost pilot episode of Jimmy Neutron. The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron was one of my favorite shows as a kid, and I'm definitely not alone in that. The show first premiered in 2001 as a feature film that led to a TV show that began airing in 2002. A lot of people have been misled by the idea that this feature film was the pilot episode that got the show picked up. But real Jimmy Neutron fans will know that before the film there was a pilot episode made in 1998 that was the real cause of the show and the movie getting picked up. But while that sounds like a long and interesting enough story for a show, it gets longer and, surprisingly enough, even more interesting. It was eventually discovered that this wasn't the beginning of the show. The show's creator, John A. Davis, originally came up with the idea for the show in the 80s, and in the 90s, a 40-second promo was produced for the show. The most interesting part of all this is that this early promo wasn't exactly how the series would end up turning out to be. Sure, it was about a kid genius with a rocket and a robot dog, but instead of Jimmy Neutron, his name was Johnny Quasar, and he had a different design. But this promo from 1995 was nowhere to be seen. It was shown publicly once in SIGGRAPH the year it was made, and all anyone had of it for years was a low-quality copy of one 10-second clip from it. There were also a few stills from the promo, including a still showing earlier designs for Jimmy's parents and Johnny walking in the night. While a copy was confirmed to maybe exist in storage somewhere by someone who worked for DNA Productions, there weren't very many places to look. Then suddenly, in August 2017, the full promo appeared on YouTube, uploaded in high quality by a user named Hilal H, who claimed to have actually been the voice of Johnny Quasar in this short. But then there was another twist that no one saw coming. Hilal also uploaded another promo from 1997 that no one had ever known existed. This short, which was made to be like a mock-up trailer for the show, included stills that we previously thought were from the original promo. Strangely enough, however, the still with a different design for Jimmy's parents wasn't part of either promo, so it's possible more test animation is out there, waiting to be found. In 2015, Lost Media enthusiasts took note to a strange listing on Amazon for a film called A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants the Movie. The film, an unauthorized mockumentary supposedly released in 2011, had a DVD cover that had a live-action boy in front of a square drawing of SpongeBob's pineapple, and reviews at the top from magazines that didn't exist. The description for the item stated that the plot involved SpongeBob being a real celebrity that played himself on his show. His popularity is fading, so his agent hosts a contest to spend a day with SpongeBob in order to bring interest back to the celebrity and his dying show. The winner is a kid named Seth, but things don't go quite as planned. Clearly, this was something the world needed to see. But unfortunately, it was out of stock on Amazon. But it also wasn't listed anywhere else on the internet and never came into stock. The only real clue was that on the DVD cover was the logo for Innovism Films, now known as Regal Films, so they looked there. But nothing happened until the CEO of Regal Films finally put the searchers in touch with a man supposedly in charge of A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants. A man that goes by the name Mr. Orange. The plot twist in this one was that there actually was no A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants. It was a movie Mr. Orange wanted to get made. Regal was supposed to help fund and distribute it. Mr. Orange pitched and wrote the movie. A mock-up DVD cover was made with some commissioned artwork and a stock photo of some kid. And the project was shelved before something happened internally that somehow led it to showing up on Amazon. At the time, Mr. Orange said that since there was now interest in the film, he would be launching a crowdfunding campaign to fund it for production. But that was in 2016 and nothing has happened since. Some suspect that there's more to the story and Regal has been lying, but while that may be the case, I highly doubt they lied about the movie not being real. Before I go on, a quick shout out must be given to my Buy Me a Coffee page. If you go to buymeacoffee.com/ColeHershowski, you can donate to the channel for just the price of a cup of coffee. Currently, I'm saving up some money to get an HBO Max subscription so I can do a next day review of Wonder Woman 1984, because those greedy corporate schmucks took away the free trials. There's a link in the description and on my channel page. Again, that's buymeacoffee.com/ColeHershowsky. Now back to the video. I'm too young for Johnny Bravo, but I do have memories of occasionally watching it on Boomerang at a friend's house. It was a good show and is worthy of being recognized as such. A lot of the writers and artists would go on to be massive figures in animation, like Steve Marmel, Butch Hartman, and Seth MacFarlane. But similarly to Jimmy Neutron, the origins of the show is not as it seems. Like a lot of Cartoon Network shows at the time, Johnny Bravo began as a series of shorts in the anthology show, The What a Cartoon Show. Specifically, it had a pilot episode that aired as a part of the series, and 2 other shorts that were commissioned when the pilot did well. The series was picked up after these follow-up shorts were also very well liked. But this wasn't really the beginning of Johnny Bravo. Creator Van Partible actually created the original Johnny Bravo pilot as his senior thesis in college. This short, called Mess O Blues, was a short film made entirely by Partible with his friends voicing the characters about an Elvis impersonator. Partible's animation professor showed the short to someone working at Hanna-Barbera at the time, and they set up a pitch meeting that led to the pilot episode of Johnny Bravo being commissioned, and the series being developed from a show about an Elvis impersonator to just a guy that kinda acts like one. Meso Blues, as I understand it, is very bare bones. One guy did the animation, a bunch of amateur voice actors who, as far as we know, didn't end up doing anything else, voiced the characters, and there was no soundtrack. In fact, in that initial pitch meeting with Hanna-Barbera, Van set up a bunch of musicians to play the score live as the short played. All that surfaced of it is a silent, low-quality clip from a behind-the-scenes documentary. But here's what's mind-blowing about this one. We know it exists. Van Partible has confirmed he still has a copy. A lot of people have speculated that it's not being shared because of legal reasons. Either that Hanna-Barbera bought the rights to it with Johnny Bravo so only they can release it, or it's too much of a legal gray area for Van to comfortably release it himself. But that's not the reason. Van has been reached out to about it, and he said that he has no plans to release it. What I think a lot of people overlook in an attempt to find and watch everything is that maybe people just don't want things to be seen. People are clamoring for this to be released, not understanding that to Van Partible, this is just a short film he made in college. That is probably kind of embarrassing. Sure, it led to great things, but that doesn't mean it's great. So I think it'll be a while until we find this one. Creepypastas are kind of intrinsically linked to lost media. Some of the best and worst creepypastas involve lost media. There's the good shit like Candle Cove in 1999, and the bad shit like Sonic.exe and Squidward's Suicide. But what happens when creepypastas about lost media and actual lost media become one and the same? In 2012, a user named Commander Santa posted on The Flood, a now defunct forum, about a cartoon he remembered seeing on the Nickelodeon series Pinwheel as a kid that he was trying to find. The name was unknown, though it was referred to as the Clockman, and it was supposedly about a man who comes out of a clock in a child's room, steals him, and takes him around with the boy begging to be brought home. Apparently it was terrifying, though Honestly, given how little this description actually matches up with the found short, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a made-up story that became an actual search when Commander Santa found talk of a similar short and used that as evidence that he wasn't lying. But people looked for this short for years until in late 2017, 5 years after the search began, someone announced that they had found it on YouTube. Basically, a lot of the animated shorts used for Pinwheel were acquired from Films, who acquires films from all over the world. The Clockman was actually a short called About Dressy Sally, a Czechoslovakian short from the 70s. While combing through an international archive, the original Czechoslovakian version was found on YouTube, uploaded by AAA Studios, the current rights holders, a few months prior. Following this, AAA Studios eventually uploaded the English dub as well in January 2018, and the search was officially over. But as I said, the short rings true to pretty much everyone's account of that short, besides Commander Santa, with it actually being about a girl who had lost her orange gloves and gets new ones with the help of a wizard. I've never been a huge Garfield fan. Call me sacrilegious, but as a kid, all I had were the CG Garfield specials and TV show from the late 2000s. But let me preface this last entry by saying that in the past year or so, this search has led to a huge rewriting of Garfield's history in a way that's so fascinating, even I'm just completely enthralled. This all started with the search for Gnorm Gnat. Prior to the nationally syndicated and acclaimed Garfield comic strip began publication, Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield, had talked about a previous local comic strip he had done for the Pendleton Times called Gnorm Gnat. In 2019, YouTuber and Garfield fan and now historian Quentin Hoover of YouTube channel Quentin Reviews was making a Garfield fan film called Arbuckle and wanted to include some Gnorm Gnat comics as a reference. The only issue was that none of these were publicly available. Because of this, he ended up getting in contact with a librarian who worked at a library that held issues of the Pendleton Times and asked for scans of these comics. He ended up getting a sampling of these long-lost comics to use for his video. But then, unexpectedly, he got another email from this librarian containing scans of a different comic strip. One called John. John was essentially a local newspaper predecessor to Garfield, with many of the Garfield strips being adapted straight from these strips no one even knew existed. After Gnorm Gnat, Jim Davis started John as a replacement for Gnorm Gnat at the Pendleton Times. As Garfield became a much more successful character than John Arbuckle, he became the main character and the strip was renamed to Garfield. Eventually, the strip stopped because it was sold for national syndication. This is huge. Eventually, Quentin made a whole documentary going to this library and getting scans of every Gnorm Gnat, John, and Garfield comic of the Pendleton Times, and has made them all publicly available. I highly recommend checking out that documentary out, if for no other reason than that this find is just absolutely ginormous. So there you go. This video was long enough, so I won't bore you with a big long outro. Remember to head to my Buy Me a Coffee page if you haven't. Don't forget to subscribe for daily videos on the franchises you love, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.